All right, welcome to Tiger Sports Report, Tigers Lair. I'm Brian Moss. I'm the publisher of Tiger Sports Report. We have Larry Marley, contributor, and we have a special guest, even though on the screen it says a little bit different name. Danny Wimprine. Danny, how you doing?
I'm good, guys. How y'all doing?
Not too bad. How you?
Hey, Brian, I have full disclosure here. So when you told me you were going to do this, I said, Danny may be the most accomplished athlete I've ever helped interview. And so I just shot around to some of my friends, and I got a text message back from somebody that I know Danny knows. And he said, you helped interview me 3 years ago. So I actually helped interview former Saint Bobby Hebert. So I'm sorry to tell Danny that not only is he not the most accomplished athlete, he's not the most accomplished football quarterback even, and not even the most accomplished player from Louisiana. So I'm sorry.
Oh man, that's too bad. Well, Bobby's got some years on me, and when you can play in the NFL that long, he's a famous guy down here. Trust me, everybody knows him and loves him.
Big Saints fan, so I understand.
Good deal.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So, Danny, how you holding up through all this coronavirus stuff?
Oh, we're doing good, man. We just a lot of family time and taking some time off of work, trying to limit our exposure a little bit. But yeah, just a lot of family time. I think that the kids are driving my wife nuts, but she's doing well with it. She's a great mom. We have four children now, so a 3-month-old girl in the house. So that definitely has its disadvantages as far as being able to go out and do things or being able to stretch out and do certain things outside and things like that, because there's a need there to constantly stay at watch. But my wife's done a great job, but I've been here to help out and going back and forth from work. But it's definitely hit us pretty hard down here. So we've just kind of taken a step back, taking our time and understand who you're around, and to practice social distancing the way that they preach down here. But everything's going really well. I mean, I've actually enjoyed the time with the family, and me and the boys are gonna head out fishing on Thursday, try to get out of here and do some things that you don't always get to do. So in that way, it's nice.
Good deal. Let's take us back to your high school days. When did Memphis start recruiting you?
You know, my first time that I had heard from Rip Shear was late in recruiting. Probably about I'd probably say only about a month and a half left in the recruiting process. And I can remember Rip coming in like he was on fire, like, just, you're our guy. We want to recruit you. We want you as our guy. And I really kind of latched on to him. We just had a really good relationship, a really good rapport. I had a couple of visits set up, I think one at Notre Dame, one at Clemson. And then all of a sudden, Notre Dame slowly started to back off. And that's really where I wanted to go my whole life. And Notre Dame slowly backed off. And then all of a sudden, I said, well, if I'm their number 2 guy, and this guy's preaching that maybe I could play early and maybe I have an opportunity to not be as far from home, let's give it a shot. So I canceled my visit to Notre Dame, went up and visited Memphis. I think it was I think I might even remember the date, maybe like January or 21st or something like that, and just had a great time with all the players and the people there. And, a week later, I think I canceled my visit to Clemson because, believe it or not, I think I started to do the same thing. I ran the option in high school. We won 4 state championships in a row here, but we didn't throw the ball very much. I probably threw the ball 5 times a game, so it was a little different being recruited as a quarterback. More of a running style guy that, I got recruited for some small schools to be a free safety, a strong safety, things like that. But Rip just came in at 100%. And like I said, we built up a good rapport, and I really thought that he was honest with everything he said and kind of latched on to me. And I thought it was just a perfect situation where I could come in and maybe play early. So I basically committed. And like I've said several times before, when I committed in my head coach's office, I've never seen a grown man jump that high, and it was exciting.
Nice. Now you touched on it a little bit, but what other schools were you considering? You mentioned Notre Dame and Clemson. What's some other schools?
Well, I had like Notre Dame, Clemson, Nebraska because I ran the option. Tulane down here actually wanted me as a free safety. LSU thought I was too short. You know, Nick Saban walked into my head coach's office, thought I was too short, so didn't give me another look. And then I'm trying to think now. I had a couple other schools look at me as free safety. I think it. Oh shoot. But it was the biggest schools that I had were probably Notre Dame, Clemson, Nebraska, and then after that I had some smaller schools around Louisiana Tech, of course, and then University of Louisiana Monroe, and then some smaller schools after that. But primarily I think I limited it down pretty early. I think honestly what I really did is kicked everybody out the room because I wanted to go to Notre Dame so bad. And then once that fell through, I think I was not stuck, but I was sent on the right path, I guess I should say. So
Yeah.
It was exciting for me. And then of course, a lot of other schools didn't maybe see me being a quarterback in college. So it was a little different for me.
All right, this next question is a Twitter fan question, and I didn't get a chance to research it, so hopefully it's a decent question. But it's from a guy named Dusty Nelson. I don't know if you know him or not. But it says, we all need to know what happened on your recruiting visit to convince you to sign. Were Jeff Cam and Big Doug that convincing?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, I actually had that's funny. Yeah, on my recruiting visit, that's funny. On my recruiting visit, I had it actually wasn't my recruiting trip. It was actually when I came in for the spring game. After it, I had committed, and so yeah, they they were trying to be very nice to me and introduce me to a lot of people. I'll say it like that.
All right. Okay.
Yes. So I get asked this all the time. So for my play days, they ask, what do I miss most? So what do you miss most about football?
Oh man, I think if you ask anybody, I think they're gonna say that they miss the guys. They miss the camaraderie of being in the locker room. For me, I missed everything. I mean, I miss everything about it. If you ask anybody, I was a pretty hard worker. I liked all phases of it all. I liked the workouts. I liked the early morning workouts. I liked the meetings. I like being with the guys. I like the preparation. So you miss all of that, but I think most of all you miss the relationships of being with the guys each and every day. The being on a schedule, trying to go out there and do your best each and every day. Being a leader for the team, everybody understanding one goal. But I think football is the ultimate team sport. And if you don't have each other, you don't have anything. So when you walk into that huddle, and I tell people this all the time, we didn't have a huddle, so it was a little different for me after high school because when I was in high school, we would almost check off half of our plays at the line of scrimmage, and you had to be, very headstrong and understand, how the game worked and defenses alignments and things like that. But when I got into college, we didn't really, after my redshirt year, we didn't really get in the huddle. We were kind of a no huddle offense, fast tempo and throwing the ball a lot and mixing it up and redirection and a lot of different things. But, I always tell the story when you walk into a huddle or when you walk into a group and you understand that you can look in the guy's eyes and they can trust you and you can trust them, because I think you put the work in over the past so many months, weeks, years, even with certain and particular players. I think it's a bond that you don't get in a lot of other sports. So generally, I would just say I miss the guys, being with them each and every day, working towards one goal and trying to be the best that you could be.
So at any level, we all have this guy. For me, there's always one guy. Who's the craziest teammate? There's one guy. Yes.
Man, the craziest teammate. Well, they had a guy.
It didn't have to be
these guys
anywhere. It could be Arena League, whatever.
Oh man. I'll tell you this. I had different teammates that were crazy in different ways. I had certain guys that would do anything for you, would run through a brick wall, crazy in that way. I had a fullback like that in the Arena League. Great player. And then I had other guys that you couldn't really take them out because they wanted to fight everybody in the ballroom. So that was crazy too. But I played with a heck of a lot of good guys, you know. But I definitely had some crazy. I had some guys that were just funny as hell, you know, crazy in that way where they could just light up the locker room and make everybody fast, make everybody laugh, and just kind of bring the team
That's
together.
Important. That's the most important
no
guy in the
doubt
locker
about
room.
it. Yeah, you're right, because locker rooms with a bunch of testosterone and guys around, it can get rough, you know, and guys can get
It does.
So you have to have that guy that could kind of keep it light and make everybody laugh. So yeah, I had a lot of different guys that I played with that were crazy and different for different reasons, and hopefully sometimes that was me too.
Well, hopefully. So what's your, at any level, what's your favorite game? I have mine, but what's your favorite game?
My favorite game, I think my favorite game from my perspective was, well, I have two, if that's all right.
Okay.
My first one was beating Ole Miss in Memphis, because I think
by the way, my daughter was conceived by that game. But anyway, go ahead.
Attaboy.
My oldest daughter.
Touchdowns worked.
It did. So, you're the man.
That's right. So I think in that game, a lot of fans realized that we weren't holding on to Tennessee 1996 anymore, you know.
Good point.
This was a new age and a new era for Tiger football. I think a lot of people understood that when you could beat Ole Miss in your house against Eli Manning, that maybe things were changing for the better. So that was a big deal for me. Another one of my favorite games was when we won the New Orleans Bowl. You know, we hadn't gone to a bowl in 31 years. Everybody had been talking about it. And 2 years earlier, we missed I don't know if you guys remember, but we missed.
Oh, do we remember?
We missed by a 4th and 27 going to the New Orleans Bowl 2 years prior. So
yes, we know.
And then honestly, my sophomore year was kind of a flop. We had a really good, talented team, but just couldn't put it together. And then finally, my junior year, we were able to put it together and go to the first bowl game. And you know, I'll call it school history, but first bowl game in 31 years, and nobody forgot about it. I mean, we showed up in there and 30,000 screaming Tiger fans. It was unbelievable. And then to win in my hometown and win MVP, it was just – that was a great feeling, you know, great feeling.
Awesome.
Now,
Go ahead, Ron. I'm sorry.
Now, you talked about your favorite game. Now, what's one game in your Memphis career that you wish you could redo to change the outcome?
Well, I can tell you this. I had, for some reason, it was like almost like UAB was our kryptonite, you know, like we just couldn't get over that damn hump. And I can't explain why, but some games I would have a bad – I'm telling you 4 years in a row.
Yep.
Some games I would have a bad game, or some games the defense wouldn't let them stop scoring. And
Daryl Hackney.
Daryl Hackney looks like I do now. He was huge. This big old quarterback, he was slinging all around the field, boy, and they'd score all kind of points, and he was a beast. But yeah, man, UAB, I don't know if it was one particular game, but it was definitely the fact that we just couldn't get over the hump of beating these guys when honestly, I hate to say it, but I thought they were a pretty average team, you know?
Yes.
But as far as games that I can remember when we came down to Southern Miss, we were having a pretty good year. I think it was my junior year. And I think I threw like 4 interceptions in that one game. And it was like just one of those games that you say, you know what? Let's tear this shit up and just start over.
It was the game after Ole Miss.
Yeah, exactly. And you come off a win like that, a super high, and then all of a sudden this happens, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just hit repeat or start over, or please let's get to next week in a hurry. One of those.
All right, another fan question from Twitter. This one from Jeb. It's kind of like a 2-part question. He says, Danny had a front row seat to several biggest ever games in 2003. The win at Louisville, the NOLA Bowl. How did seeing Memphis host game day and beating SMU that night and then going to the Cotton Bowl resonate with you? And then the second part, how has the last 5 years changed how you see the program from what it was then to what it is now?
Well, I think he's exactly right. This year, it was almost as if when I saw the game day feature, it like re-energized me for Tiger football. It was like it was I'm proud to see city. And this has nothing to do with just the city of Memphis. I'm talking any city across the country that hasn't been on the primetime network each and every week of some schools that you always know that are on there, right? Same old school, same old story. Well, all of a sudden, here comes Memphis. And I have never been more proud of the people or the fans when I saw them on Beale Street and I saw them at the game. And then all of a sudden we come out victorious. It was an awesome feeling. And I think that kind of leads up to the next question on how has it been the last 5 years. I think we're actually starting to get the recognition we deserve. We have the coaching staff. We've had the coaching staffs over the last several years that have recruited well, because we all know that's what it's about. If you don't bring in the horses, you're not going to win. And these guys have competed in recruiting. Therefore, we're competing on every Saturday we step onto the field. But I think the last 5 years, it's kind of more of the same. It's given me back a pride to say, you know what? That's where I played. I played there, and we won when I was there. And guess what? Maybe it went down a little bit after that, but we're on the rise. And you guys need to watch out. You need to be aware in the top 25, and hopefully even less than that. You guys need to be aware that Memphis is on the rise, and we're going to start to compete with these SEC schools in our area, and we're going to compete across the country. And, obviously when you win the AAC and you're going to get that recognition and be able to play some bigger opponents and bigger games, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about seeing where we're going to come and where we're going to go this year as well.
All right. And then, we're not sure about this season, if they're going to play in the fall, maybe the spring. But when you take a look at the season, Brady White's very close to he's chomping at your records. What do you think about Brady White possibly breaking some of your records?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, look, I'm almost 40 years old now. I'm removed from the program. I think it's great for the program. I think it's great for this young man if he could come across and get it done. I think it's going to be big for his career, maybe possibly after Memphis. I'm excited about watching him. Honestly, I think 2 years ago he was an average quarterback, and I think last year he made a huge, huge step, and it really opened my eyes on what he can do on the field as well. And I think from what I hear from other people, he's a great person. He's a great leader. They appreciate him and they love him over there at Memphis. And I think if he can continue to do what he's done, what he did last year, of course, he's going to break my record, no problem, the career record. And I look forward to him doing it. I promised. I said if he does it, I'm going to be there at the next game and I'm going to present him with that game ball because he's earned it. I can tell you how hard I worked. And even though systems change and you might throw the ball a little more, you might have more playmakers or guys on the outside to catch it. If you're breaking the 10,000 yards, you're doing something.
Larry?
Hey, so what mementos have you got from your playing days? I've got a few. What have you got?
Well, I think, to be able to say that, I won the MVP in the New Orleans Bowl, I think was a big thing for me. For me, career-wise, unfortunately, I wasn't able to play much after Memphis. I mean, I was a free agent with the Cleveland Browns. I played 2 years in Canada. Then I came back and played 3 years in the AFL for the New Orleans Voodoo. Actually, when the league was a good league, it was a fun league, make a living. It was very nice. We were owned by the New Orleans Saints. We practiced in their facilities. We worked out in their place, and it was the right setup. And then, halfway through that season, I'm the league. I'm voted the league MVP halfway through the season. Then the second half of the season, we lost all of our receivers, all of our offensive linemen started getting injuries. And then at the end of the season, the league folded. So that was kind of a shot in the heart for me to be able to kind of end on a sour note of just not being able to finish. I wouldn't have mind playing for 10 more years in my hometown if I could have made a living doing that. And the league was actually controlled by the NFL and, it had some support behind it. I think the biggest thing for me to be able to be inducted in the M Club University of Memphis Hall of Fame a couple years ago was huge. Because no matter where you come from or what you do after your playing days, like we talked about Brady, that's something that you're never going to forget. Your name's never going to be taken down. Your kids are going to be able to look back on that and say, wow, these are some of the accomplishments that my dad had. And of course, I have 2 girls now, 2 boys, and I'm hoping that they play quarterback one day and maybe play somewhere at a big school and maybe be a Tiger one day. Who knows? But I think being able to be in the Hall of Fame was a big achievement for me.
So you mentioned fishing. What other activities have you taken up after football?
Well, as you guys know, when you start having kids, a lot of those activities kind of go away, depending on who you are and what you're doing. But I enjoy hunting. We have about 1,200 acres in Mississippi that we basically like a big almost farmland that we have. It's high fence. We go hunting during hunting season, and I enjoy fishing as well. But I don't own any boats. I'd rather just go with guys that I know can catch fish. Sometimes that's rough going out there and not catching anything. So I'll leave that up to the pros. But honestly, I call my high school football games. John Curtis is still probably a top 25 program in the country. So I do the live webcast on johncurtispatriots.com for all of their games. So it keeps me busy, keeps me in tune with the program, and all of the coaches are like my best friends. So I stay involved with that. And Ashley and I are building a new house right now in the middle of all this stuff. So it's just driving us crazy, and then, of course, working each and every day keeps me busy enough.
So you mentioned the Arena League. And personally, I think the Arena League would have been perfect for me because the field's short, I'm slow, so I could give up 3 touchdowns a game. I'm pretty good. You know what I'm saying? But how was that different? For you as a quarterback, how was that different?
Well, to be honest with you, the AFL was my favorite brand of football. It was fast-paced. You got hit a lot, and I never mind getting hit. But you threw the ball a lot. You threw the ball probably 90% of the game. I played with some men. I mean, you had to for that ball to bounce off the net and to be turned around and to catch that thing, and you had to have some kahunas on you to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to take this up. And then that short field, like I said, it was just exciting. You're banging guys off the walls. It was a lot of fun. I mean, I played in Canada for 2 years as well, and the field was really large, spread out a little bit more, 65 yards wide, 110 yards deep. So, if you're not one of those guys that I guess would be prototypical 6'5" with huge hands, the ball's actually a little bigger in Canada. So it was a little tougher for me. But as far as the brand of football, I think the Arena League was my favorite brand that I've ever played.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was very exciting. And I'm telling you, to be able to play in New Orleans. Yeah, now they call it the Smoothie King Center, but we would have 16,000 people strong right on top of you like a basketball game. And we were the number one basically team in attendance when I played in 07 and 08. And then it folded in 09 and it came back in 10. And then we had a team in 11. And that was like the worst year of my life. We were terrible. I was getting my butt kicked each and every week. And we were pretty bad. And it was a single entity ownership like the Arena 2 League. And it just wasn't the same. It was just totally different. It was time to start making babies and move on to other things.
Definitely. Now, Memphis is now in the American Conference. What are some teams that you wish Memphis would put back on the schedule, maybe for some old-time rivalries?
Well, honestly, I really wish we could play Tennessee again. I hate to say it like this, but I got to play against Tennessee my freshman year, my redshirt freshman year, when I tell this story. I'm practicing all week, right? And Coach Fiechner comes in. I think it was like maybe my fourth game. I don't know. I know you guys don't remember, but my first game against Mississippi State, I go in 3 plays, I get a concussion. Unbelievable. Sit out the next game. 3 games later, we're going to play Tennessee. So I'm practicing all week as a starter. Coach Fiegner comes into the quarterback room and he says, you know what, we're going to start Neil Suber. And he said, Danny, I know you've never been in an atmosphere like that before. It's 100,000 people. And I said, yeah, I know, Coach. And he said, well, the fans are going to be right up on top of you screaming. I said, yeah, I know. And then he said, and Neil's had experience in this stadium before, so we're going to go ahead and play him. I said, well, I know, but it's, let's do it. So we go in, we don't play very well. I come in towards the end of the game, have 3 touchdowns, and it was an awesome experience. But, I told Coach the next day, I said, I was a 6-year-old boy kicking Tennessee's ass in my dreams. So I really wish I could have played. But the point is, we didn't play him for the next 3 years. And I think it was probably smart by them not playing us my junior or senior year, because it might have been a different game than they would have hoped. But it's an in-state rivalry. Back to playing for SEC teams, obviously. We play Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Geographically, I think it makes sense. I think it's a great rivalry. But obviously, I'd like for us to be able to stretch out a little bit, maybe get some other SEC schools. Like, being a guy from down here, I would hope we could play LSU or Florida or even, some schools up north that are, real fast-paced schools that we obviously – when you get into bowl season, you start to maybe see some other teams that you have the opportunity to play depending on how they seed you or where you fit. And it's an awesome matchup because it would never happen during the regular season. And I think that usually, every big Division I school tries to play in their first or second game, a 1AA school that they can get a win on the schedule for. And instead of doing that, I really wish some of these other schools would reach out and say, hey, we want to play somebody. The problem is, for some schools, it's a lose-lose situation.
Correct.
If you're playing a big-time school, if Memphis beats you, you're the worst thing ever. And then if Memphis beats you, you didn't really – if you beat Memphis, you didn't really do anything, So I think it's hard for a lot of coaches to get big-time teams on the schedule. But if we could just concentrate in our area and possibly play Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee on the regular, I think it would be nice for us.
When you take a look at Memphis history, who would you put on Memphis football Mount Rushmore? Could be 4 players, coaches, mixed, doesn't matter. Who would be on your Memphis Mount Rushmore?
Whew. Well, I would definitely say, wow. That's a tough one. I would definitely say, I would probably say D'Angelo Williams for sure.
Yeah.
I think he was just a guy that was very dynamic, just a different player. I think when D'Angelo got recruited, it was kind of like the athlete that they had always tried to get but couldn't, And honestly, I think Stephen Gostkowski, he kicked with me, and when you could play that long in the NFL and be that successful, I think you've earned it. And he started to work to get there. I don't know if I'd put any coaches there yet, because I don't know if we've had a guy that has been like, a particular lifer that I would call a guy that has wanted to be here for 15, 20 years. That's really what we need. And I'm hoping Coach Silverfield, being a local guy, could be that for us, that kind of establishes himself. I think these last few coaches have been able to turn the tide for us in recruiting, which, like I said, I like that we've had the opportunity to do that. So I think that I wouldn't put up a coach there yet. And then obviously you got to put Isaac Bruce in there. Isaac Bruce is a guy that, of course, is going to be inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. That is not something that happens every day. You got to give it up to him. And obviously, when you mention his name, everybody might not know what school he went to, but everybody knows who Isaac Bruce is. So they don't know necessarily. Some people don't know who the kickers are. Some of them might not know D'Angelo. Some of them might not know Danny Wimprine. But everybody knows who Isaac Bruce is if you're over 30 years old. And he was a guy that, the greatest show on turf, you remember those years, and you remember hearing that name so much. And I think I didn't see him play in college, but I could tell you I threw to him one day over the summer, and it was unlike anybody I had ever thrown to. And it was amazing to see the difference in talent level from the guys. And I'm not talking bad about my guys, because I had a lot of guys that worked hard, but I'm talking an overall just killer at receiver. A guy that had the speed, could break out of the cuts, that understood the game. He was on a different level, and you could understand that. So I'd probably say Steven, D'Angelo, Isaac Bruce, and number 4, I don't know. You gotta maybe hopefully it's one of these quarterbacks. It might be Brady White. I'll tell you after next year.
All right, will do. Larry?
So we kind of, you already talked about representing New Orleans with the Voodoo. That's something that everybody dreams about, by the way. Everybody wants to play for their hometown school.
Not yet, I'll tell you.
But you are from New Orleans, and I consider myself to be somewhat of a New Orleans expert. Love that town. Give me restaurants, out of the way restaurants that anybody can try when we're down there. Don't give me Commander's Palace, because I'm not doing that anyway. I mean, this is not happening. But give me out of the way restaurant.
Okay. What you want? Lunch, breakfast, dinner? What do you want?
All of it. Give me one of each.
All right, I'll give you 2 for breakfast. And the reason I'm gonna give you 2, because one of them's a good friend of mine, and he owns it. The place is a local place about 5 minutes from my house. It's called Yaya's Comfort Food. It's a breakfast place. Unbelievable. It has, oh yes.
Okay.
And then they have another one downtown. They actually have 2 locations now. It's called Bearcat Cafe for breakfast. Best breakfast you'll have in any state. It's unbelievable. It's awesome.
All right.
Really good. Lunch places, I think you're going to have to stick to a lot of local places here that are the hole in the wall places. And when I tell you, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, it's unbelievable how, and obviously, look, I'm a big boy now. Trust me, I'm not at my playing weight anymore, okay? Because I enjoy food. I'm a food.
Who is?
Our business, probably, our company services probably half of the restaurants in New Orleans. So I get to know these people. I get to go visit their places, and I understand like the new places that are opening. But it's amazing to me how many great spots, like po' boy places we have in New Orleans that you could just find on a corner or something that looks like a house, and you don't even realize it's a restaurant. But we have some unbelievable places for lunch. One of my favorite places for dinner is a Chafalaya on Louisiana Avenue. Their shrimp and grits is probably the best that I've had. It's been a while since I've been there. I think they've changed hands once, but it's an unbelievable dinner place. And then they have, just like I said, a lot of local places that that we try to get to pretty regularly. Like, it's hard with 4 kids, trust me. They're not always quiet, but we still like to get out a little bit and do some fine dining, especially when we have the opportunity. But golly, it's crazy to think this, but it's almost too many that I can't even think right now about where you could go, because I have so many that open up that I think are awesome. I mean, you name the kind of food, I can give you different places. And honestly, if you guys are coming up here, anybody's coming up here, let me know, because I'll give you some suggestions when you're coming. But I mean, any genre, any type of food, we got it, and it's good. Trust me.
I'm going. Trust me. I will go.
You got it.
You got anything else, Larry?
No, that's pretty much it. So of the most recent quarterbacks, Paxton, Ferguson, and now Brady. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Okay.
Who you want to go to battle with? Although, if I had to pick one of those 3 guys, who you
want? I mean, right now I'm gonna say Brady, and maybe it's because I saw him last year, how much better he got. I think I understood. Well, speaking of quarterbacks, I got my 2 right here. This is my fullback right here. This is Finley, 4 years old. This is my boy Baylor. Oh, 5. She turned 5 last week. This is Baylor. This is my 6-year-old Baylor, and then this is my 8-year-old Madden right here. These are my two future quarterbacks, and then this is my fullback, and then Dempsey and my daughter Dempsey's outside with my wife. All right, y'all go ahead. Give me some time.
Okay.
Give me some time. Good job.
Teach her how to pick up the blitz, okay?
That's right. That's right. But I'd probably say Brady right now. I think Paxton was definitely the most prototypical. I mean, God, what I wouldn't give to be 6'7". I mean, Jesus, I'd still be playing. You know, so and then Riley, honestly, I'm surprised Riley didn't get more of a shot than he did in the NFL. I thought he was a pretty good quarterback. Somebody that, you know, obviously I didn't think was going to be a starter, but somebody that could scrap and make a practice squad and do something. And then I think the good thing about Brady is he still has a little bit of unknown maturation. He still can get better this year. You know, obviously he's not going to get any taller, but he's definitely tall enough, big enough. He's got a strong enough arm, but he's continuing to learn the game. And so from what I've heard so far from teammates and people that are around him, I'm guessing right now it'd probably be Brady, but guess what? I'd probably say me.
That's my man.
And the last thing before we get out of here, is there anything you wanted to tell Tiger Nation?
Yeah, just I love you guys, man. It was it was literally the best moments of my life, honestly, when I was up there. You guys treated me like family. It's different from the city of New Orleans for sure, but I think you guys opened up every door for me. You met me with open arms and treated me very well. I had a lot of people there that I consider family to this day. So I appreciate it. And just to let you know, I might be far away or out of touch, but I'm always watching. I'm always keeping in touch. I'm always hoping and praying and wishing that the Tigers do well. So I'm following and I'm watching, and I'll stay informed.
I definitely appreciate your time.
Hey, if you ever come up and you want to go to a game, all you got to do is let me know, and I promise you we will show you a heck of a time. You'll have a hell of a time.
You got it. That's what I want to hear. I appreciate it. Matter of fact, I plan on coming this year when Brady either breaks my record or maybe the alumni game in the beginning of the season, if we could hopefully get
Once again, man, I appreciate your time, and stay safe down there.
Y'all got it. Thank you so much. God bless.